I was at the WA Circus Festival in January this year, where I met Daiki and Cheeky, one of the best clown unicycle duos in the world right now. They showed me a plethora of skills, but there was one in particular that stuck in my head. As soon as I saw it, I immediately thought, I'm learning this. Daiki would ride the unicycle sitting down like normal at a decent speed, then immediately jump up to be standing on the fork and glide until he runs out of momentum. Very cool. So here's how I went about learning it. First, I got used to the idea of standing up on the unicycle. I held onto a pole and started practicing lifting my body and moving the seat between my knees until it stopped freaking me out. The second step was to have my trainer Charlie gently pull me along by the hands so I could get used to using the pressure of my foot through the tire as a brake and a way to control my front and back balance. Eventually, after doing this for about half an hour a day for several weeks, we finally started to build up some real speed, until I had at least a basic level of control once he let me go. We trained this until I could glide to a complete stop. After I had that down, I discovered something kind of crazy. Once I'd come to a complete stop, I could fall forward for a bit, release the foot brake and pull the wheel under me again to build back up some momentum. Imagine you're hopping on a single stilt except it has a wheel on the bottom, and you have no way to apply torque through the wheel except the brake. After learning this, I discovered that I could start the skill without holding my trainer's hands or a pole by skipping the pedals. Then I started looking at ways of getting to the skill from the pedals without first having to learn how to coast. I found that the easiest way was to go straight from a wheel walk idle. After hours of watching people training this online, I'd never come across someone getting into it this way. From here, I learned how to get back down to the pedals. Similarly, I found the easiest way to be going straight into a wheel walk, even though it's not the most popular way. I find this pretty interesting because it helps to create entire sequences that don't involve touching the pedals at all, especially after learning the jump to wheel walk trick. So anyway, after I got to the point where I felt I could do it every time, I put it in a routine and performed it in front of a bunch of people. It went really well, so now it's time to move on to the next level. I started experimenting with doing a 5-ball cascade at the same time, plateaued at about 10 catches and haven't really advanced to that since. It was time to bite the bullet and learn to coast so I could finally perform this skill at a decent speed. Coasting is basically freewheeling like you would on a bike, except you're on a unicycle so you have to worry about front and back balance as well. Except you don't apply torque through the wheel in any way, so you just have to flail your arms like a madman. I basically spent an entire term working on this and still wouldn't say I feel confident enough to perform it. One thing that helped a lot was learning to ride an impossible wheel. It's a whole lot easier than coasting on a unicycle, but the concept is pretty much the same and it helps to refine your arm movements. Becoming semi-confident with coasting helped me to become fully confident with gliding. Gliding is the same as coasting, except you can stop yourself from falling backwards by foot braking. Using this technique, I was a lot more stable, and a lot closer to being able to stand up at speed. All I needed to do was commit and not wimp out. So I started trying to stand. The first thing I noticed is that it's really scary. The second thing I noticed was that as a reaction to it being scary, I would foot brake extra hard, forcing myself to fall forward, as falling backward seemed like an even more terrifying option. In trying to get over this habit, I managed to make myself really angry. The more I thought about not foot braking, the harder my toe pressed on the tire, stopping myself from making it all the way up. Frustrated and annoyed at myself, after 2 full hours of training nothing but this skill, I went home on Friday night without managing to land the trick. And then on Monday, as if by magic, that fear had just gone away. "11 months into my journey towards learning this trick, with only 1 training day left for me to finish making this video, I finally got the skill on camera multiple times in one session. On my last day before now, as I'm finishing this edit, I was successful 1 in 5 attempts on average. I'd call that a success. It's not performance ready yet, but it's still a success. Well, I'm now officially a complete human being. My dad acknowledged me as his son, and women in the street just won't stop giving me their numbers. It's a cool trick. What do you reckon? Worth the 100 to 200 hours I put into it this year? Let me know.